All right, well, I guess we're here, and we're kicking off the ISD post-game show. If you have questions and you're in chat, make sure you, if you would, put like either question or a question mark, so we can kind of differentiate between what's a question and what's a whole lot of venting, which I expect we'll see a whole tremendous amount of venting, and rightfully so. Once again, if you're not a subscriber to our ISD YouTube channel, make sure you click the subscribe button, and you'll be able to check out all our live stuff, and our videos will start popping up on your YouTube feed. That way you don't miss any of this stuff moving forward. And once again, if you have questions, please put a question mark or type question in front of your question so we know exactly what, whether this is more of a comment or a question you'd like us to address or answer. All right, guys. I've watched a lot of Notre Dame football. I've seen some just horrid football teams. I've seen some horrid performances. I mean, this ranks right up there with about everything that I've ever seen. And I've not seen a team this piss poor at tackling, at mental mistakes, at execution, at just everything. And that does not absolve coaching. All right, because we're going to get to that here in a second too. Just pathetic, absolutely pathetic performance. And I don't understand it. And to me, and I'm going to speak for Irish fans on this. To me, I think the most frustrating thing of the entire game was to see Marcus Freeman standing there at the end with his blank, confused look on his face. Dude, you're the head coach. Do something. Go talk to somebody. Get involved. I just don't understand this. We can make fun of Purple Face all we want, but what Notre Dame really needed was Purple Face in this game. This is now the second time. Yeah, I think so. I think you need. No. Yeah, I think you need to start telling people this is not acceptable. This is 2 games in a row you lost to 2 horribly inferior teams. Now, and I would say it's equal parts coaching and equal parts playing. And it's terrible. Something needs to be done here. And you have to get involved in this. I don't understand. I understand you want to be a player's coach, but at some point you need to step in and make people accountable and say, hey, guys, this is not going well. You don't have to necessarily get up and just scream at somebody, but you have to step in there and say, hey, what's going on here? What can we do? What's going on? How do we fix this to hold some people accountable? I don't know, man. I don't get it. Not since Willingham have we seen such ineptitude.
Okay, let's.
No, honestly.
No, Mike. I'm not going to be talking about Tyrone Willingham. No.
Dude, we scored 7 points in 3 quarters against one of the worst defenses who was hurt. A bunch of guys were hurt.
Whatever.
7
I'm going to tell you this performance, but let's be real with Tyrone
7
Willingham.
points against this terrible, awful defense in 3 quarters.
Okay.
There's no excuse. No, shut up.
I'm not making an excuse. Can you let me talk?
Don't want to hear it.
Can you let me
I don't
talk?
want to hear it. It's terrible. Horrible.
Okay, you just go.
I did go. I'm done now.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Yama.
I'm just saying, it was. I'm 100% agree with you. This was unacceptable. This was atrocious. This was worse than the Marshall game.
Oh, totally.
I don't even think it was close, to be honest. No. Offensively, this was the most pathetic game that I've seen from a team against not just a bad defense. This was North Carolina bad defense. It was just atrocious all the way around. I think you could say Tommy Rees was atrocious in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Drew Pine was horrible.
Yes.
In this game. And obviously sometimes too, guys got to make a play for guys to help a guy out too. And you just, obviously he didn't see that. But just to go through the first quarter and Audric Estime doesn't get a carry. How does, I don't understand. Hey, he doesn't get a touch. And I understand he fumbles at the end of the game. That was obviously not a good play, but still was he not the best back for Notre Dame coming into this game, and then he didn't get a carry in the first, and then you're like running him inside, but using him for like blitz pickup on third down, and so like personnel usage, right? And I mean, Pine was just bad in this game all around. Like ball placement was horrible, I think, for the most part in this game. I think obviously there was mistakes early that like kind of put them in bad positions to get behind the sticks. And they could never really get into a rhythm. But I mean, it's no excuse against, they should have done so much more against this defense. Was horrible. And only thing I'll disagree with you, Mike, is that I don't think they need people to hold accountable, but he doesn't need to go purple face. But yeah, go over and talk to the offensive lineman, like go over and talk to Drew Pine, like pull him aside, like we're not seeing every single shot that they're showing, right? But I mean, I wasn't like the defense was. I mean, they certainly weren't great in this game. I want to say Stanford, you have to give them credit. They had a really good game plan because they basically just they got out coached. Well, they essentially
how many times that happened this year? You know what I mean?
I mean, it definitely happened 2 times.
No, absolutely,
like really bad 2 times.
I think Cal too.
Yeah, I mean the Cal game, I would say that was more on some of the stuff that was going on with the players and them being tight and being horrible. But either way, for you had 3 games, and that was a game easily that they could have lost that game too. And they basically played not to lose that game, right? And this game too was also a game like I don't know about you, but I knew as soon as Notre Dame, I was like, Notre Dame is going to get the ball with 2:38 left. And Jason Garrett, of course, was horrible on the call, but saying they had plenty of time here. And I was like, you're going to ask Drew Pine after the game he's had to come out and come and win it throwing the ball. I just knew there's no way that it was going to happen. And then obviously, last play of the game, he throws short of the sticks too. And I just was like, I just kind of knew that it's going to, or even taking that sack, you just have to know not to take that sack. And I don't even know. This was I would say, yeah, this is the worst loss Notre Dame has had against this kind of opponent. This is worse than Marshall to me. Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. And we haven't even got to the defense yet. And I know we're going to sit here and we're going to say, well, we held them to 16 points, but tackling was atrocious, just atrocious. And you should win when you hold Stanford to 16 points. There's no disagreement there. Absolutely none. But you shouldn't tackle that poorly. It just shouldn't happen. I just don't understand. And then, Marcus Freeman, obviously his confused look is the, Drew Pine, what are you doing? We need 8 yards and you throw it 5. I mean, that's certainly a look of frustration and confusion, and I get it, but you shouldn't have ever been in this position. It should have never had to be a situation where Drew Pine has to lead the team down to beat Stanford. It just shouldn't ever be in this position. And I don't know. It's so frustrating to watch. And this is a huge step back in my opinion. All right, Greg, your thoughts.
Well, so one thing I noticed is Tommy Rees didn't really adjust to the fact that it was pretty clear early that Drew Pine wasn't Drew Pine.
Agree.
Like the Drew Pine that we saw the last 2 games. And I said to Jamie on the pregame show, or not on the preview show on Thursday, like Notre Dame was in third down a lot against BYU, and they were kind of in third down on purpose. They ran a lot on second and long, and they were very comfortable getting in third down, and they were 11-16, right? And it's like, yeah, great. Look, Drew Pine is awesome and all these other things. But I said, what if he's not great on third down again? What if because that's how you get bogged down, right? They needed explosives. They needed big plays. And I think in the game, they were 3 of 12 on third down. And like that's how drives get stopped, right? You're not an explosive team. You don't get a lot of chunk plays. And so it just kind of kept happening over and over again. They're sitting there on 2nd and long. They run the ball. They get 1 or 2 yards. And they're sitting there in 3rd and 9, and they don't pick it up. And
Those
it's
second
like,
and long runs just are.
it keeps happening, and it was.
Well, it's
it was
one right
of those
after
things.
another, and everybody knows it's coming. Everybody knows
it
it's
keeps
coming.
happening. You got to stop, and it's like, and it's kind of like I said again, like it's very easy for like Notre Dame to come up empty in the first couple drives, and the crowd starts making that noise that everyone recognizes, and everyone gets kind of like, oh, I don't know. And then you get the touchdown, and you got Mitchell Evans going out for a pass when he's obviously not supposed to. And here's the thing I was thinking about Mitchell Evans. We didn't think he was going to play in this game, right? Like there was no indication that he was ready to go. I mean, did we know that he was even practicing? Like we didn't even know
They
that.
didn't say anything. That
got a ton of snaps in this game.
Yeah.
And the thing that I don't get is like they've been talking a lot about earning trust, and you have to earn our trust and all these other things. What is Mitchell? And I'm not trying to like really go in on Mitchell Evans. Like it has nothing really to do with him. It could be anybody. The fact is, it's like he didn't play in like really the fall camp. He didn't play in the first few games. And then he's out there. Like they're totally comfortable putting him out there. And he makes a mistake that cost them a touchdown. Like that's the part that I don't really understand. It's like we've been hearing about like Tobias can't play because we got to trust him, and he didn't go in motion, and it cost him. And so we don't see him for the rest of the game, and then we don't see him in the game after. And then Mitchell Evans goes in there, gives a penalty that costs a touchdown, and it's not a thing. Now, I'm not really trying to go in on Mitchell Evans. It's not that I feel like he's, he cost them, and it was like his fault and all those other things. It's like a number of things, right? Lorenzo Styles, make a play, man. Come on. Like, seriously. You're going to be the guy. You're going to be the wide receiver 1. You got to make some plays. Okay. But it was kind of that. The fact that they couldn't get a fumble. There's like 6 fumbles in the game. Notre Dame doesn't recover any of them. There's so many things that happen that just compound the fact that it wasn't a Drew Pine game, and Tommy Rees didn't have a plan for it not being a Drew Pine game. And then it goes down the road that it goes.
I got a thought, and and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. We've heard Marcus Freeman constantly say, we're a running football team. That's the way we got to be built. I agree with that. Totally agree with that. And I want to see that moving forward. I think that's the only success that's the only way Notre Dame's going to be successful when they start playing these better teams and they get better. But, Drew Pine is not the guy that is going to be this amazing player on 3rd down. He's just not going to be that kind of guy. And, so to me, I was sitting there shouting, why aren't you, going in some sort of tempo? Let's spread this out. Let's let him get into rhythm, because the running game isn't going to be there until he starts making them pay a little bit and get the passing game going a little bit. Pine is just the type of guy that, and we've seen it, obviously, if things aren't going well, all of a sudden he's in the tank, and you have to get him going. And I just don't think that Rees ever really did that in this game and got him going and trying to get into situations where he could be successful. And again, it's the 2nd down running call that we see every time, when it's 2nd and long, we're going to run the football. And it just, I don't know. I think sometimes Rees may be put in a lot of pressure because he knows Marcus Freeman wants to run the football, and rightfully should, but I'm not sure the way things are going right now, whether that is, we're going to pound it, and then hope to pick it up on 3rd down, because you don't have a lot of guys in the backfield who are going to make a whole lot of people miss and or power through and convert on those short yardage plays. And then 2, you don't have a very mobile quarterback. And 3, you don't have a consistent offensive line that you can bank on that can get you those plays all the time. And so I don't know. I just wonder if maybe that's in the back of Rees's mind at some of these times, because it just didn't make any sense why he wasn't trying to get Pine in rhythm and give him some throws and just get him moving and get the offense moving. I was just very surprised we didn't see that. Yami, your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know why they don't like do some of that sprint out stuff that that
Yeah.
basically Stanford did the whole game. So because they knew
To
if they
protect the
drop back,
line.
yeah,
Yeah.
they couldn't drop back McKee. That's all they did with him the whole game. His average depth of target had to have been like 4 yards, like
Mm.
because he was throwing screens and throwing those kind of things basically the whole game. This question from Kevin here: do you think Pine played so well that Reese put too much on him instead of protecting him like before? Maybe that was the thing that had, and you just thought that Drew Pine had kind of turned a corner. But I think in this game too, you realize that like Stanford played like press man outside the entire game, and Notre Dame couldn't beat them. They didn't barely even try to beat them, really, right?
That's exactly it.
Like,
Yes.
and and maybe Pine didn't have the confidence to make some of those throws true, and maybe because like you said, Styles dropped that one. Although that was a play too. If he led him on that play, it's probably a touchdown, right? But I don't know. I just think that there's so many things in this game where I'm like, that just looks so obvious, and obviously we'll watch the game, but like, so how about running short yardage to the left side? Feels like they're doing pretty well there. The left side consistently like caving people down, doing it. Like, why don't they do that? Like, I don't understand. I don't understand that. There was just so much in this game too, where I just thought there was just like, and obviously you can't get into a rhythm, and so there's that stuff too. But like, 21 personnel is this like booming thing for Notre Dame over like the last few games. They may have ran it like a handful of times this whole game. Like maybe only, I don't think they ran it until like the third quarter. Like why? I don't understand it. Like, why are you like building this out, especially when you are like confident in the wide receivers, right? Like why aren't you throwing to the backs? Their linebackers aren't good. They're not guys who can cover well. Like, why didn't they take advantage of that? Instead, it was like, and everything too. And obviously, that Michael Mayer is your elite guy that you're focusing on, but just like the laser beams onto Mayer, when he was like covered, and you're just asking way too much of him in those situations. And that to me was like another huge problem, where that's something where you almost have to design it for Pine, and to get him out of that, you have to say like, look, Mayer's a decoy on this play. Like we have to design something. Somebody else has got to be the guy. And maybe they haven't developed that other guy to step up, but somebody else has to be, because obviously the way they were playing it, they had a really good plan with Mayer, and it worked.
Good question there for Chris. Was with tonight's play, it looks like the only wins left possible are UNLV, Navy, and Boston College. Your all's thoughts? But this is a Jekyll and Hyde team. They could come out and play crazy next week, and who knows? First of all, I think there's two things happening here. I think there's a lack of leadership, plus some guys being injured that's hurting them a little bit. But I think there's a lack of team leadership and ownership and responsibility. But two, Notre Dame's just flat getting out coached. And how do you fix that? It's the same thing. You only got the players you have. You only got the coaches you have. So, can Notre Dame beat some of these teams left on their schedule that aren't UNLV, Navy, and Boston College? Absolutely they can. Will they? I don't know. I know one thing, they're going to have to coach a lot better than what they did today. And they're going to have to be mentally prepared. They could have
lost to anyone today.
Yeah,
they would have lost to anyone today.
Like a lot of FCS teams they would have lost to. Seriously, they would have lost to a bunch of teams.
The thing is, too, though, like the team that beat North Carolina and the team that beat BYU, they would have won this game, too. So it's like we, after Marshall, right, we also are 4-8, right? On Thursday, we were talking about running the table, going into Clemson. Like it's – You just like it is like one thing that is true about this team that I think is we've kind of seen it over the course of the last, I guess the first 6 games, what it is. And it's that they don't have that consistent playmaking from anyone that isn't Michael Mayer, and especially so on defense. Like there's
here's the thing that doesn't make
close to
sense, Greg.
none. Yeah,
You look across the board at the starters on offensive line, all 4 stars, all of them are 4 stars, except for maybe Joe Alt, who's, funnily probably their best offensive lineman, if not Patterson.
yeah.
You look at Lorenzo Styles, 4-star player, and we can say whatever we want about, the guys that are left, but Lindsey was a 4-star player. So was Jaden Thomas, so was Michael Mayer's a 5-star. You got 4-star backs. This is the best you can do. I mean, seriously, it's not. This is the best quarterback you can have. I mean, this does not make any sense that you should be this bad. There's no excuse, none. The talent is clearly there. Notre Dame is certainly more talented offensively than Stanford is, if you look at star ratings and who wanted who and that type of thing. And these were the players that they evaluated and they wanted. And this is the best you can do. So I don't know. I just think that there's a real coaching issue here right now in getting some guys developed and ready to play. And certainly some player issues too. And it's going to be the question everybody's going to ask: is this on the coaches or is it on the players? Both. I mean, I think both groups, coaches and players, deserve an F. I mean, if I'm giving it an F. You guys, is that an F to you?
I mean, it'd be tough to. I mean, offense, I would give it a full F. I wouldn't give it a full F on defense, but I mean, everybody across the board, I pretty much on off. But the crazy thing about this game is that Notre Dame, though, they ran for 5.3 yards per carry on, if you take the sacks out of it. Yeah. So like they actually ran, and you look at like Diggs averaged 6.3 yards per carry. Estime had 7.1 yards per carry. Tyree had 4.4. Like they shouldn't have been like nearly as bad as it was in terms of, but I mean, a lot of that came obviously in the second half. But the fact that they were so brutal,
they don't ever get any big plays in the running game because they got 9,000 people inside the freaking hashes.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't put that many people in the hashes and not expect. I mean, how is it that Chris Tyree, one of the fastest players, doesn't have a big run? I mean, not one. I mean, it's incredible. And it's because you have so many people.
They run them inside. That's
it's
all they do with
this
them.
Compact in the middle. Let's put 9,000 people inside, in between the hashes, and I just don't understand the offense and the way it's designed. I really don't. But hey, it is what it is. I'm not Tommy Rees, and I'm not an offensive coordinator. I just know the results, and the end result is you got a whole bunch of 4-star players, and you produce 7 points against this team. In 3 quarters. That's pathetic. It's just awful. So anyway,
I'm looking at a lot of the comments, and there's like kind of a disagreement, just generally about the defense and how well they played and that sort of thing. Here's the thing with the defense to me is I don't think this defense can carry a bad offense. You know what I mean? Like Notre Dame, they go at 14-13. And you just kind of know, like Stanford's probably still going to move the ball, right? Because look, Notre Dame doesn't have a bunch of playmakers on defense. They don't. They haven't all year. And to their, kind of to their defense, they forced 4 fumbles today. You know what I mean? Like they
can't get a break.
Yeah, like that's really unlucky, But the fact is, it's like this defense is not going to be able to carry a bad offense. Like I picked Notre Dame to win the game 41-21, right? You get 21 points some kind of way. And Stanford ends up with 17 and it wins 16, them, or 16, and it wins them the game. 16 points wins Stanford the game today. That's crazy. Like that cannot happen. You tell me going into the game Stanford's going to score 16 points. I say Notre Dame wins by at least 3 touchdowns, And so but at the same time, 3rd and long is like such a huge problem for this team. And what's his name? Al Golden. He's figured out. He needs to figure out 3rd and long because they are just in a defense that is just burning yards every single time. They are so close to giving up 3rd and longs. And not just that, they give up a lot of 3rd and longs. They get like, let's say 3rd and 12. They give up 10 or 11. And then that causes the offense to say, you know what, maybe we ought to go for this. You know, you need to stop them. You need to be able to get off the field on 3rd down, especially on 3rd and long, and they're not doing it. The tackling in the secondary is generally poor. Okay. They're not really taking anything away in the secondary. And this is all around like kind of under the umbrella of the fact that like they gave up 16 points and 1 offensive touchdown.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing that when you have to factor into it, Notre Dame held Stanford. Stanford's offense is like, they are at least decent. They have, obviously you saw like Tremaine make that catch. Wilson's a good player. Urisek's a good player. Like they have some talent.
They had 2 guys starting that never started really.
No,
you know
on the offensive line.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
But they basically called the game to
protect them. I understand
their O-line. And you know what? It was a good job by them, right? It was a good job by them. But
here's what I don't get.
Here's the thing: is like Greg said, Notre Dame holds Stanford to their lowest points of the year, the lowest yards per play of the year. So you're like, okay, that's all good. But you can look at that as like a big picture thing and say, hey, the defense did its job. They should have won the game. Yes, okay. The offense was the reason that Notre Dame lost the game. But what Greg said about the 3rd downs, like those are killers. Those are killers. And even in those situations where if you give up this amount of yards that they're going to go for it, you're in that territory, like those are failures too. And how many times do they have to run a screen on 3rd and long for you to not know and prepare for it? Like,
yeah.
And that is the biggest problem with the defense. And then obviously just like, you can say it too, like the tackling by the DBs especially. And I understand, like they're missing Bracey. Like that's huge, right? You're missing Bracey. Harold Cross was clearly not healthy. He's not completely healthy. But it's just like, I don't know. It like, they just don't have anybody who is an elite guy who could say like, okay, this stops now and he's going to make a play. They just don't have any one of those guys.
Jamie, for a long time, we've been saying they just don't run any sort of stunt games. They're just not doing a lot of things up front defensively. And then the blitz are the same thing every time with the linebackers. Straight up the middle.
The cross dog. Jamie, what's the
deal with every time?
That's all they do. It's unbelievable. It is unbelievable, Jamie. I don't understand.
I don't get it.
How is that not hard to figure out?
Texting with Matt during the game, we were texting each other and we're like, "Oh God, this cross dog blitz!" Like
that's all they do, man.
Everyone knows that's what you do.
Exactly.
All last year, honestly, the best part of their defense last year was all the sim pressures that Freeman did. They had sim pressures all the time. Why you never knew what was coming.
Notre Dame was an elite team on 3rd down last year.
I thought how many shows did we do where we thought, you know what, like the Bengals did a bunch of sim pressures, and if anything's going to come, remember when you were talking about you wrote a couple stories about Brandon Joseph and how he's near the line of scrimmage. And when he's at the line of scrimmage, like you can blitz the safety and you don't know who's coming. And it's like, you can still do 4, but it's the fact that you're simulating pressure with other players and you don't know who to pick up. That all they do is cross dog blitz. And it's always like, it just always gets picked up because it's the only thing the offensive line has to work on. It like, honestly, I've been trying to talk to you about this. It drives me insane. It really does. I don't get it.
It's crazy to me. I don't understand. And the other thing is too, is like, you know what? So this is the other thing too. They didn't let us in to camp. They didn't give us access to camp. They didn't give us in spring ball.
No.
So but they gave us one full practice with pads. The one full practice with pads they had all off season. I was at that practice in the spring. And in that practice, they didn't do it. Like they weren't doing crazy stuff, but they showed a lot of like pressures and stuff with safeties in terms of like DJ Brown and Brandon Joseph and, lining up and Foskey as like a 3 tech and Justin Ranola inside. And they were doing a lot of stuff. And I was like, oh, like this is going to be good. Like, I think they're going to do a lot. They haven't shown any of that. No. They just like threw it out. Like, I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. Like, they could be like, especially when you're showing these simulated pressures and they think, oh, they got it. And then you're running out and like taking out the screens and stuff too. Like, it's all set up. Like, I'm mystified by that, to be honest. That is the thing. The main thing on defense is just like the vanilla-ness, really, because I think like pressure wise and stunts and just that, I don't get. I don't get like, and you don't even have to. You don't have to bring 5, bring 6. You don't have to run like zero cover 0 on the back end. You don't have to do that if you don't trust the guys. Like, you can do a lot of like different.
That's the point of sim pressures.
Yeah,
that's the whole idea.
Yeah.
So if you are Marcus Freeman, what do you do at this point? Part of the job of the head coach is to coach the coaches. And to be honest, I just don't think the coaches are doing a very good job. There's the situation with Reese and Freeman, and that, I'm sure Tommy wants to be a head coach someday, and Tommy, and there's kind of that push-pull there, and, don't be getting in my offense and don't be telling me what to do. And defensively, the same thing with Al Golden. But some of these things are just really, as you mentioned, tackling. We know Mike Mickens is one of Marcus's best friends, but I'm sorry, your secondary can't tackle for crap. They're terrible. I mean, they are terrible tacklers. And, there's just so many things that need to be fixed. If you're Marcus Freeman, what do you do? We'll start with you, Greg. What do you do?
If I'm Marcus Freeman, what do I do? Well, this is what I do. First of all, I go to Chancey Stuckey and I go to Tommy Reese and I say Tobias Merriweather is going to get 30, 35 snaps a game. That's what's going to happen. Okay. The other thing I do is I don't think, in my opinion, he needs to just kind of like, you don't really like, you have to approach it as if like, okay, like the game is the game, right? And you lost it because you lost it, right? You need to think about like, why do we keep what is the deal with like, I think Notre Dame has, especially on offense, they have a serious problem with their rotation. Audric Estime has 3 carries through 3 quarters. It's impossible. It's impossible. How does that happen? It cannot happen. So that's the deal. I think Tobias Merriweather has shown you. Okay, they threw him twice. The first one was a slot fade where the corner is not in touch. It's completely ran by him. Okay, the ball is overthrown. Second one, they throw him the ball. It's a post route. It's for a touchdown. Okay, he's behind the defense. Okay, you had 2 touchdowns drawn up to Tobias Merriweather. Okay, let's go. We don't have time for this. You're 3-3. That's the other thing. The thing after that too is like, you need to start like Angeli needs to get activated here, and I don't mean from like a
needs to start, but yeah,
like it's like, okay, because the thing
it needs to be a competition.
It can't that can't happen again. If it's like, hey, if you show me another first quarter like I saw,
you got to get them out.
You got to get them out, and right away. Like, that's
why they lost, because if they had another guy that they could have gone to at that time, they probably won the game.
You know what I was thinking? Honestly, I was thinking, man, they need to go to Tyler Buckner. Like that's what I was like. I was thinking after like the first couple series, like that's what they need. They need to just completely overhaul the thing, because they just needed a different energy. And that was something they could do last year. They couldn't do it this year.
Yeah.
And that's it saved them last year, and they can't. It's not even an option this year. But to me, it's like, you're 3-3. We don't have that cannot happen again. And to me, it shows urgency. I'm not going to let us sit here and fail over and over when we're going to go 15-27 against terrible Stanford. And you're just looking, like Jamie said it, you're just looking at Michael Mayer the whole time.
Yeah.
He's just forcing him the ball over and over again. And it's like this Estime, 3 carries, unacceptable. It's just completely unacceptable. And so Prince Colley, he played a lot more snaps today. I'm very curious to see what the numbers are.
Yeah.
But man, he played a lot more snaps. I think that has to increase. So, you know, and again, and you got to tell, honestly, you got to tell Lorenzo Styles, man, like, look, your snaps are not guaranteed, because that was really not good from him tonight. I'm shocked at his level of play. All right. Now I think he's a much better player than that.
The second one was a bad throw.
Understood. But like you got,
he should have caught it, but he wasn't going to convert because of how he had to turn. Like, that was not going to be converted. Like, it was a bad throw. Those are the layups Pine made all the time.
And
sure. No, I agree. It was not a good throw. You could still make the catch, I think, but I don't think it would have been a first down, even if he would have caught the ball. But I mean,
the touchdown, the one in the end zone.
I didn't even try and fight for it. You know what I mean? It was bizarre. I agree. It's got to get better. It's got to get better. And they just
here's a perfect illustration of the play that BYU scored on. That was what Notre Dame did. They motioned Styles.
Sure.
And they quickly threw it out there, right? And to us, pitch and catch, right? Pitch and catch in the BYU game. Notre Dame couldn't execute it. Notre Dame couldn't execute that little pitch and catch play. They couldn't execute it. That's why you lose to Stanford, because little stuff like that you can't execute. And when you can't execute that, you can lose to anyone. Anyone, doesn't matter who it is. A living, breathing football team you can lose to because you can't make those little simple layup plays.
You know, I just sit here and I'm just dumbfounded that this is the situation you're at quarterback. And again, these are the guys that Reese wanted. You know, I mean, you sit and you watch JJ McCarthy, and you're like, you could have had that guy. You know, you could have had him easily, but you chose Buckner over him. And you know, we can discuss whether that was a smart play or not. But I think the way it's turned out, we know which way that thing is trending at this point. And I just don't understand how you can be this bad offensively. You know, Jamie, look, you spread these people out, right? You move Mayer out. I know that you're looking to kind of pound the ball and things like this, but I think Notre Dame's front 5 have a better chance to just lock on their man and make some movement, and versus having all these players stuck in a short period or short area of space. And I just think that the running game, if you could spread, if Notre Dame could spread their pieces out, meaning Mayer out, meaning the other tight end out, people in the slot, I think you have a better chance to have a successful running game that way. You know, these guys are all veteran players. You know, they should be able to zone block by now. If they can't zone block on a crappy Stanford team, then you got a problem at offensive line coach. You know, you really do. These guys have been around for a long time. And, you know, I don't know. Blake Fisher is probably the guy that has the least experience, but he did not play well today. Did not play well. And it just, I don't know, man. It's just so frustrating to watch. It just shouldn't happen. And I don't know. If I'm Marcus Freeman, I seriously have a meeting with the coaches. And, you know, I think he wants to be a good guy. He wants to be a good guy to work for. And he wants to be a good guy to play for. But you can't sit out on the sidelines on this stuff. When stuff is going bad, you need to get involved. And, you know, sometimes you got to have hard conversations. And sometimes, you know what, if somebody gets mad and they want to leave, then they shouldn't be there anyway. That's just the way it is. And I don't know. I'm not saying you go in and blow anybody up or be whatever, but I think you do need to have some stern conversations and say, your unit is not playing well, and you need to get this fixed. Otherwise I'll find somebody else to coach them. You need to have those kind of conversations, and don't necessarily threaten anybody's job, but just make them understand that the product on the field is not acceptable, and there are a number of positions in my mind that should be playing better than they are. And again, brand new coaching staff, so sometimes that's hard to get. But Gerard Parker is a brand new coach too. Tight ends are playing well. I mean, you got a couple freshmen out blocking as well as anybody else on the team. It's incredible. So you can't tell me that you can't do it just because you're a new coach. So I don't know. Yami, your thoughts? Go ahead.
I wanted to say something too, and I wanted to ask Jamie so he can chime in on this. Like, I thought, it was today was one of those games where they were playing so bad offensively. It's like when they're playing bad, you analyze the game, like you watch the game in a different kind of way, right? So it's all very kind of very surface, because you can't really get into it. It's like, oh, you're really just like, okay, you're like kind of play to play. But my impression was like I thought Nana played a really good game.
Yes, he did.
I thought Riley
for
Mills,
a while.
I thought Riley Mills played really well. I thought Chris Smith was really good. It's a bummer that
JD Bertrand take a ton of heat. JD Bertrand had his best game in forever. He was good in this game.
Yeah.
13 tackles he ended up with.
But like, where's Foskey, man? Like, people ask us all the time, like, what's going on with him? And I don't have the answer. I don't know what it is. Like, where's the playmaking there? How are they all playing great? And he's our guy, and he's not doing anything. Why is that?
I don't know. You know what? I think it's a fair question, because I think you look at it like, when I'm saying like they have no great players. I mean, the guy who was supposed to be great is Isaiah Foskey. And he obviously had, he's had stretches of this season where he's looked great. And there's been plays on against the run too, where he's been very good. And he made a nice play on the one, like counter draw play that he made a nice tackle on. But especially against this offense, like, he needs to dominate and be like a guy you notice on every snap. And he's just not. And I don't even think it's him not playing hard. I just think it's just he's maybe not that guy. Like, he's not that guy who has that ability to kind of like take over a game. And because I think even if you think about it, like, Khalid Kareem is like a good example of a guy who, obviously he's not a dominant player in the NFL or anything like that, but as a college player, like, he could take over a game, and he did on more than a few games, right? And you saw that with a lot of those guys, and they just Foskey has not, I think, ability-wise, physical talent, I think, obviously is a guy who probably should be like a first-round pick by that, but like, based on his consistent level of play, I just don't think he just hasn't been that guy. He hasn't been that guy. And that's the main thing too, right? Is that you just don't have enough of those guys that can like take over a game, take over a series, right? And that was always the thing with Notre Dame, is that you, especially the last 5 years, where you just say, oh man, like Tavon Coney just absolutely took over that series, right? Khalid Kareem took over that series. Oh, Aquara, just like 2 straight plays, just dominated. Like, that was a 3-and-out because of Aquara, right?
Yeah.
And where's that now? There is none of that. I mean, the closest, I think, in this game, you saw like Nana do it.
Yeah.
And so that's big, I think, obviously, to see that from a guy. But
he plays with a fire under him, Nana does.
The
fire we've not seen, and very good on the edge, man. Just really good setting the edge.
Really good job.
It really does a really good job, and made a number of plays in this game. I don't know. I just don't even know what to say. I don't know. Do we have any questions from the people, or are they just mainly just venting? Because I don't get to
it's
see
a
the
lot
chat.
of venting. I mean, so here's one from John Carlin talking about regression from veteran guys across the board. coaching. I don't know about the coaching dud part of it, but I mean, I do think there's something to be said for that, right? Like, I think a lot of veterans, with the exception of like Mayer, have just been kind of meh, and I think that it's like it's a good example on the defensive line, right? Like we got more from the supplementary pieces, but not the star, right? And that's kind of true in the secondary. Like the secondary is laden with experience and upperclassmen and older players, and there's just no playmaking back there. It's just not there.
No.
They're not around the
Zero.
ball. Brandon Joseph is never around the ball.
Yeah,
I don't
Never around the
understand.
ball.
Ever.
I don't understand. Like that's
ever.
and even when he was playing poorly at Northwestern, he was always around the ball. He was always kind of, around it, right? Even if it wasn't working out. So that's one that I don't really understand there. There's a couple questions here. So there's one from Mike Kane, the Lindsay experiment, talking about Tobias. And then there's another one from Sean Kennedy talking about Lindsay. Here, Lindsay had a touchdown today that they didn't throw, that they threw. It was over his head. It's a walk-in. He's wide open. There's no one there. And the what was it, the second series, the one that got called back, where they didn't get that on fourth down or whatever it was. I mean, it's a walk-in. He's wide open and he misses him. And I thought he made a couple other catches, but again, Tobias has to get more snaps at someone's expense. Whoever.
Yeah.
He has to. It's just
Well,
there.
and there's some other things that need to happen here. And again, if you're not effective running the ball, this makes it a little bit difficult. But as much as I like Lindsay and as much as I like Lorenzo Styles, and I think both of them have some potential, they're not 50-50 ball guys. They're not guys you can throw the ball up to and hope to come down with. And I think they've proven that, in the last couple of years. Hang on, this is 4th and goal. I got to watch this. And they got in. Okay. Tie game.
Just
go ahead.
One thing too that about like the DBs not being around the ball. Like, I mean, I thought Notre Dame was going to start turning it around in terms of like, passes defense. Like Notre Dame is 130th in the country in passes defended. 130th.
Yeah.
There's out of 131, Jamie.
Charlotte is the only team that's worse. Like they're worse than Colorado and making plays with the ball in the secondary. And they only had one in this game too. Like that's the other thing. It's not like you're like, oh man, this is really close. It's like, no, they're not. Like maybe you see sometimes like
the only guy who makes a play on the ball is the guy who was out this year or in this game, and that's Bracey. He's the only guy who's really made plays on the ball all year.
And also the other guy, like, do you think Bracey would have made a play on some of those screens?
Wow, he's going for a 2-point. Wait, he's going for a 2-point. What are you, nuts? He's trying to win it. He got it. They just beat USC. Well, they didn't beat him.
Left?
It's 43-42, 48 seconds left.
Oh my.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Wow, that takes some guts, man. Yeah. Wow. It went for 2. Are you guys aren't watching this? Hell of a game. It's 43-42.
I have no ability to
USC is on
to feel anything now.
They got 2 timeouts left and there's 48 seconds. So they have a chance to drive the field and kick a field goal, but
did they get a transfer kicker?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
Anyway, I don't know, guys. I just wish I had an answer for this, but there's just so many problems right now. But I tell you this, I think you guys are on to a couple of things. If Drew Pine doesn't play well right away in this next game, I'm playing Angeli. I just am. I like Drew Pine. I think he's a talented guy, but I think his potential is limited. And you really need an offense that can pound the football and be very, very effective doing that. And because Notre Dame has struggled throwing the football, teams are, even Stanford can somehow slow down Notre Dame's running game. and you can't have that. So I don't think Drew Pine's going to play as bad as he did today. But if he does in the beginning of this next game, I'm definitely playing Angeli, and I'm not even thinking about it. And I'm giving Angeli a good solid look. I really am.
How many times? I mean, Marcus Freeman got asked, why should you have started Drew Pine? Now we kind of see why.
Well, that was a dumb question.
It was a dumb question, but it got answered for people. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, because look, it's always the consistency. It's always that's the problem.
That's the thing too, right? When people talk about going to your backup quarterback, which Pine is the backup, right? He didn't win the job, and so what happens is, in the NFL or in college football, they say, like, if you can go, win half your games with the backup, that's good. But obviously Notre Dame's in a situation now where they got to play a backup the rest of the year, and you say 3-1. Okay, 3-1 with the backup, that's not that. But just like you look at two of the games he was great, right? Two of the games he was great. Cal in this game,
not so much.
No, right? So I think, and that's when you look at it too, when you look at every quarterback that Notre Dame's going to play the rest of the way, you would say that most teams, not UNLV or Navy or whatever, maybe not BC, but most teams, you would say they have a pretty big edge at quarterback. And when that happens, you need the rest of the team to really rise up around, because the quarterback can kind of lift everybody up. And Notre Dame just doesn't have this. They don't have a quarterback who's that good.
I mean, you got to make plays for him,
Yes, for sure.
You have to be there for him. And it's hard when, he's only throwing it to Mayer.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, I don't want
constantly forcing it to Mayer, Yeah.
I don't want to continue to get on Lorenzo. I've said what I said. He didn't have a good game, and he would probably admit to that, but you got to help him out. And that includes the offensive line. Look, I think like Tommy Reese, right? He gets on Drew Pine, right? Just on national television, do your effing job and all those other things, right? Well, a couple series into the game, he needs to get on that phone and get all the offensive linemen out there, get on them, and he needs to scream at them like that too. Because it's you know what? Hey, Drew's not feeling it right now. It's got to be on us. It's got to be on you guys. It's got to be on you guys. We got to get going. It shouldn't have to be that Drew Pine is the savior of the football program on offense, right? That he wasn't the starter, and you know what? He gave us great play against North Carolina and against BYU, and that's awesome. He's not feeling it tonight. You guys got to pick him up. It's your job. You are the unit. That unit is what this football team was supposed to be built off of, regardless of who the quarterback is. Regardless. And so, what 160 yards rushing today, not going to work. Not going to work.
Yeah.
Oregon rushed for over 300 against this team.
Yep.
Come on.
And they had some guys hurt too. It wasn't like they were, full staffed and everything. And
they got some guys hurt early in the game too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not that they were, I don't know. It's a very frustrating game. Very frustrating to watch. I think Irish fans are probably feeling like I am, in that, what do you do at this point? I mean, it's no fun to watch. I mean, this is not a fun team to cheer for. I hate to say that, but they're just not fun to watch. They're no fun to cheer for. And it's sad because you see a lot of guys actually putting effort in there. They're trying to make plays and they're trying to do things, but for whatever reason, it's just too many mental mistakes.
You know why they're not fun to watch, Mike? Because you don't have that playmaking.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah,
because you don't. When you're watching,
that we sit and they get up to the line of scrimmage and they stand there and look at the sideline for 9 hours and trying to figure out.
Well, it's fine when it works, right?
It's fine when it works, right? Exactly. But the thing is, it's when you watch the defense, right? You just kind of know that, man, they're not going to make a play. You're not going to make a play in this situation. You know, like you want, like when Stanford's like running it out, like when it's third down, it's 3rd and 10 or whatever it was. And there was like a one timeout left. And it's like, if they get a first down, they're going to win the game. Right. You're not thinking to yourself, like, man, I hope they try a path like Notre Dame can make a play here. You think, please just kind of try to run it. Like, please just run it out. Don't try to throw a pass. Because you just don't have that faith in them. And that's the unfun feeling, right? That's not fun to feel when you think to yourself,
yeah, you're on pins and needles the whole
game. Yeah,
like,
man, I don't know. I don't feel good about this at all. Notre Dame goes up 14-13. You think to yourself, man, I don't know. Well, there's going to be a drive there.
He had the ball, and there was like 6:30 left, and Reese is trying to run the football. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, dude, you don't have the feel for this game at all. You're going to need to score and then score again to win this. That's what I was thinking, because I thought, well, the defense is going to let up and you're going to have to score again, so you're not going to have the time that you think you're going to have when you're trying to run the ball here with 6 minutes left. You're probably going to have to score again. And it just,
I sorry to interrupt, Mike, but I have to bring up too, there was like on that last drive, they just like let 30 seconds go off the clock.
I don't understand.
Like just complete unawareness where they're like going slow. I was like, what is this? You have no timeouts.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, you didn't get this. So it was like, now there was like this sense of urgency. It was like, what? That was like incredible to me. Like that's a point too, where you need to be like Marcus Freeman, like yelling on the thing. Like we need to go now.
Yeah.
Like
they needed to do that, by the way. Like I know that it's been kind of noted that they're slow. They're not a fast team in terms of snaps and all those other things. That's been noted. They need it with like 6 minutes left in the third. I'm thinking to myself, you guys got to get going. You got to extend this game. This game, you are now down multiple scores to them. Even when it was 13-7 and all those other things. Hurry up. Let's go. We don't have time to, because look, you get the ball, you score. You get a ball back and you're driving down, and then Estime fumbles, right? They only got one drive after that. You all those minutes, they all count. All those seconds and all those minutes, they all count. So, to me, that's like that's a Freeman thing, where Freeman needs to get up and hey, we need to get going. We need to extend this game. We need to make this game longer, because right now, like and especially when you're better, you should be like, we want more plays in this game because we're better than them.
One thing too, just bringing it back to what Mike was saying in the beginning about, the kind of like the purple face thing. I do think that there's one thing with Freeman, or just like any coach with that kind of personality, that if that's who you are, don't change who you are, be who you are. That's fine. But you have to have the other bad guys on the staff. You just do. You do. And it's like Tony Dungy, like that was like what Tony Dungy is known for, obviously being this like calm and, like gentle almost man. Right. But first of all, you ask the guys who played for him and the coaches who coached for him. I mean, he held guys to a high standard, and he would say, like, he would tell guys like, this ain't getting it done, to like other people. Also, if you look at the staffs he had a lot of MFers that really that was their job to do that. And they played that role for him. And so that's one thing too, and he's like a first time head coach and stuff too. But that's one thing, if like you have Tommy in the booth and there is a benefit to that, but who's the guy who's like getting on the offense?
Well, that would be Harry at the O-line, but it doesn't seem to be doing much good.
No,
apparently, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it doesn't seem to be doing much good.
And I don't even think too, like, even if you're going to look at like the offensive line, I wouldn't even say it was the offensive line most of all that let the offense down in this game comparatively to everybody else.
Well, it's been an hour. We've already killed it. I don't know, guys. It seems like the season is over, and I know you can't look at it that way, and I know Notre Dame can't look at it that way. But as a fan, it's like, I think this had so much promise, coming off BYU. And as I said in my prediction, before the game, this is the kind of game where Notre Dame just shows up flat and, is not ready. And sure enough, they were. But I thought that they, because of the Marshall thing, they'd figured this out. But man, I can't believe how bad this was. I just can't believe it. And this is a huge step back. You're now back to Marshall again. And I don't know. I know one thing. You got UNLV, and look, UNLV can throw the ball. At least I haven't watched them in a couple of weeks, but they look like they were able to throw the ball the couple times I was able to watch them. They were putting up some points, and you can laugh all you want, but
I mean, if Notre Dame play, like we said, if Notre Dame plays this way, they're losing to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. So that's just what it is, and we'll just have to see. But I don't know. I'm frustrated. We'll just have to see what happens and go from there. So, all right. Well, look forward to hearing all your comments and reading it all, and we'll see what happens. But very frustrating night. Thanks for watching, folks. We'll talk to you this week on YouTube Live, and also
anyone who's post game morning show tomorrow morning, 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, which kind of a morning after everyone can cool off. Maybe we'll have a little bit clearer head about what happened, and we'll talk about it again.
All right, sounds good. See you, everybody.